At first glance, Jack Doherty and McKinley Richardson looked like a Gen Z internet power couple. Jack was already a YouTube giant, pulling stunts, flexing wealth, building his brand on pranks, giveaways, and polarizing antics. McKinley was the soft-spoken, gorgeous counterpart. She brought contrast to Jack's chaotic energy, and fans quickly fell in love with the pairing. From vlogs to live streams, OF promos to couple Q and AMP. The two were inseparable and monetized to the max. But what started as flashy couple content would soon reveal something much darker beneath the surface. And now, after months of speculation and silence, McKinley is finally speaking up, and the internet is listening. In a raw, honest appearance on the One Night podcast, McKinley gave her side of the story, and she wasn't vague. She gave names, she gave timelines, she gave receipts. He told me if I didn't start doing OnlyFans, he'd send me home, and that's how the bomb dropped.
We worked well together in the beginning, so that's what I'm very thankful for, but also at the same time, I worked so hard on my own stuff. Like I have 9 million on YouTube, and I post long form and shorts and all that stuff. I know that's something I'm very proud of, and I did that all myself.
Yeah, good for you.
All I had to do was start an OnlyFans. But yeah, he literally.
Would you ever stop?
Okay, this is like.
I actually saw this today. Mm-hmm. Someone hit you up and was like, "Yo, you gotta stop this," but it's like.
It's hard.
I understand
because
that.
I did not. I literally, anyone can vouch for it. I did not want to do it at all. But he literally, we weren't dating. We were just talking. And he said, the only way we can date is if you're in this with me. And we created a business. So I was like, okay, I'm done looking back on it. To be honest, I don't know why I thought that was healthy. But I did it because people around me also said, this is going to be a really good thing for you. Like, this is a good decision. Like, I was crying in tears about it. I didn't tell my parents.
It's hard.
It's really hard. But
to what? Commit to doing it?
Yeah, because, you have the...
But then everyone just responds is like, yo, you're so paid.
Oh,
yeah,
no, not at first. They're like, are you kidding me?
They call you a whore. It's really
you gotta
bad.
put up with some shit.
Yeah.
But that's what comes with the whole business side of this.
That's true.
What seemed like just another relationship gone bad is now being called one of the most manipulative influencer setups in recent memory. McKinley's story begins before the money, before the cameras, before the million subscriber plaques. She met Jack when he was still on the rise, before the mansions, the jets, the chains, and the OF empire. He was a completely different person when I met him. I think I was holding on to who he used to be. She says they started talking months before she ever showed her face on camera. At that time, McKinley didn't even do OnlyFans. In fact, she was completely against it. It was against everything I was raised with. It really bothered me. But Jack made it clear. No OF, no relationship. He framed it as a business partnership, a joint venture. And to stay with him, she'd need to contribute. Not just emotionally, but financially, visually, publicly. He told me we couldn't date unless I was in it with him, so I did it. Despite her hesitation, she agreed. And from there, the content machine began. McKinley went from a small but growing online presence to 9 million YouTube subscribers, millions of monthly views, and a fan base built on their shared image. Jack featured her in almost every video. Their relationship became content, their content became business, and eventually the business became everything. But behind the scenes, McKinley says she had no control. Jack took most, if not all, of the earnings. He managed the narrative, the uploads, the brand deals. He decided how she was seen and when. And as her numbers grew, so did the pressure. I had to work for it, but it wasn't mine. It felt like I was just playing a role. By her own words, she was thankful for the platform, but heartbroken by how it was built. She describes crying in secret, hiding it from her family, pushing forward because everyone around her said it was a good idea, even when it went against her values. Even when it tore her apart privately, I didn't tell my parents. I was crying, I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. As McKinley's career exploded publicly, she says Jack's control behind the scenes tightened. It wasn't just about doing content together. It became about controlling when she appeared, how she appeared, and even how much she earned. According to her, Jack essentially owned their joint content. She was the face, but not the boss. I worked hard on everything, she said. I built a platform. I posted long form, In shorts, I hit 9 million on YouTube, and I did that myself, but he still tried to take credit. Even worse, she explains that Jack began emotionally manipulating her to stay in line. The only time he would ever compliment me was when I was crying, she told the podcast. He got off on making me feel small. It was like he needed me to break down just to pay attention to me. That wasn't just a relationship issue. That's a red flag drenched in gasoline. According to McKinley, she was so emotionally entangled that she convinced herself it was love. But over time, she realized it was just power, disguised as affection. And when that power dynamic played out in real life, it nearly turned deadly. McKinley detailed one specific moment that became symbolic of everything wrong in their relationship. They were filming, and Jack, in typical Jack Doherty fashion, pulled a dangerous stunt and flipped a golf cart while she was riding in it. It landed on her neck and back. I couldn't walk, she said. I was lying face down, waiting for an Uber to take me to the hospital. And where was Jack? He went on a yacht, she said. Like I didn't just nearly break my spine. That wasn't a one-off moment either. According to McKinley, Jack's disregard for her safety, comfort, or well-being became the norm, not the exception. He cared more about the clip than the consequences, more about the view count than the bruises. She admitted that her parents didn't even know how bad it got, and even when they were involved, it was already too late. He got lost in the moment, she said, and I was just lost in him. But eventually, she reached a breaking point. She realized no amount of growth, followers, or money could fix someone who was constantly chasing more, even at the expense of the people closest to him. One of the last major incidents that shattered any remaining trust between McKinley and Jack was what many believe was a completely staged robbery. According to McKinley, Jack claimed he had been robbed, his chain snatched, his crew shaken, and the footage went viral, but she wasn't buying it.
All right, so he got his chain yapped. No, I just want to get your opinion.
Okay.
For people that don't know, and this is up to you, but it just feels staged.
I feel like it's staged. I'm not gonna lie.
But like,
where were the cameras at?
People will go through all that for a clip.
He got to get his money up since the money's gone.
Yeah, the money's
I'm
gone.
gonna be honest.
It felt staged, she said on the podcast. There were no cameras, no urgency, and then he went right back to streaming like it was nothing. Jack's fans were divided. Some believed the footage. Others, like McKinley, felt like the entire situation was a cheap ploy for attention. The theory gained traction. He faked a robbery, possibly involved police, just for a clip. And if that's true, it shows how far gone Jack had become. He said before he's going to change, that he's going to grow, but then he'll do something like this the next day, she said. According to her, Jack's addiction to attention had replaced any trace of genuine emotion. The hustle was everything. Authenticity? Optional. And it's not just a career decision when someone's personal life is wrapped into that chaos. It's a relationship that starts to rot from the inside out. If this staged robbery theory wasn't enough, McKinley described another, much more serious moment when she was the one in danger. A few months before their breakup, she says they were in a sketchy area for a video shoot, parked in Jack's tricked-out party van. Jack left her inside the van alone. Minutes later, McKinley was robbed.
I got robbed in LA. The last time we went.
That one was real?
That was real. I was in Compton at 3 a.m. because he was shooting.
Nice.
Yeah. At a takeover.
Risking it all.
Yeah, we were at a takeover, and I was sitting in the Sprinter because I didn't want to go outside because it was terrifying. And like me in Compton at 3 a.m. I don't look like I belong there. So I went into the Sprinter. And I made eye contact with two guys in shiesties. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna need to turn the lights off, like, cause this is not good. Turn the lights off in the Sprinter van, go in the back, I lay down. Then I hear the front door open, and I thought they had all came back. And it was this guy in it, like a surgical blue mask, which was terrifying. Blue gloves, a bag, a gun. Shit. And he looked at me, he said, who's in this party bus? And I looked at him, and he hopped over the seat. Came over to me, and he was like, give me all your money. He had the gun. Literally the most traumatizing experience in my life. So that happened in Compton, but getting robbed in broad daylight on Rodeo Drive, I don't really know.
Not only that, but she claims Jack refused to stop streaming during or after the incident. I told him I was scared. I told him to stop. He wouldn't, she said. He kept streaming like nothing happened. Imagine that. Your girlfriend gets robbed, she's clearly shaken, and instead of stopping the camera, you keep rolling. That was the moment, McKinley says, she fully realized she was no longer in a relationship. She was just a character in Jack's livestream, a storyline, a plot point. And even in moments of real fear, the content came first. That's when everything clicked. She wasn't a partner. She wasn't protected. She was just another view counter, a tool for a man who cared more about numbers than the people around him. Following the robbery incident, McKinley said something inside her broke. Not physically, but emotionally. It was like I wasn't even real to him anymore, she said. I was just another background prop to his stream. She recalled how Jack would barely acknowledge her struggles. If she was upset, he'd downplay it. If she cried, he'd make fun of it off camera. But the worst part? He knew how to make it look fine on the outside. He would be sweet in front of people, or tell me he loved me when we were filming, she said. But the second the cameras were off, it would all switch. It was classic manipulation. Love bombing in public, cold detachment in private. McKinley said it got to the point where she didn't even know how to feel anymore. She didn't want to leave because of the success, the exposure, and what they built together. But staying meant sacrificing her identity. I didn't even recognize myself by the end, she said. I was doing things I swore I'd never do, just to keep him happy. And I was still never enough. This wasn't about clout. This was survival inside a toxic brand, dressed up as a relationship. One of the most revealing parts of McKinley's story is how she explains the people around her. Friends, business partners, and even other influencers all told her the same thing. Just stick with it. According to her, people in their circle encouraged her to keep doing OF, to keep growing the brand, and to ignore the pain. They told me this was a smart move, she said. That it would be worth it. That I'd thank them later. But in reality, what they were saying was, your emotions are less important than your engagement rate. That mindset is what made her stay in a dynamic she knew was wrong. I was literally in tears, she recalled, and people were still telling me it was a great business decision. McKinley wasn't just failed by Jack, she was failed by the entire environment that let this happen. An influencer industry so obsessed with views and income that it rewards dysfunction. I had to pretend I was fine on camera while I was breaking down off it, she said. And when someone's entire life becomes content, where do you go when you want to escape it? The people who were supposed to protect her became enablers. And the worst part? They probably still think they were helping. As more time passed, McKinley began seeing how love had been turned into leverage. Jack wasn't just her boyfriend. He was her platform, her manager, and her gatekeeper. And the line between romantic partner and employer became completely blurred. He used love like a transaction, she said. If I didn't perform, if I didn't show up, if I wasn't on, then I felt like I wasn't worthy of him. According to McKinley, Jack would frame things as helping her career, but it was never help. It was control. He'd remind her how much he did for her, how far she'd come because of him. But what he never admitted was how much he gained from having her at his side. His videos performed better. His OF business boomed. His audience grew. He told me I'd be nothing without him, she said. But he built an empire on my face, my body, my presence. That's not a partnership. That's exploitation. And what made it harder was how subtle it all was. It didn't look like abuse from the outside. It looked like teamwork. But inside it felt like captivity. Long before McKinley spoke out, fans had already started picking up on the cracks. In Jack's videos, she looked quieter, more distant. Sometimes she wouldn't speak at all. She looked sad, commenters wrote. Why does she never smile anymore? Others accused her of being ungrateful or having an attitude. But in hindsight, those signs were symptoms of burnout, exhaustion, and being emotionally drained. One clip in particular, the infamous golf cart flip, started circulating again. Viewers rewatched it and realized how little Jack seemed to care about her safety in that moment. He just walked off, looking for the stream, one user tweeted. Like she didn't almost break her neck. The disconnect between what Jack showed and what McKinley later revealed became undeniable. The brand they built together was glossy and explosive on the surface, but it was rotting underneath. And the scariest part, no one around them stepped in, no one called it out, until McKinley finally decided she'd had enough. She took back her voice and broke the silence. What followed would shake the internet's perception of Jack Doherty forever. After McKinley's podcast episode dropped, the internet did what it always does. It split in half. Some people defended Jack Doherty, claiming McKinley was bitter, clout-chasing, or rewriting history. Others, especially longtime viewers who'd noticed her silent discomfort, believed every word. But here's the thing. Jack didn't say a word. No rebuttal video, no statement, no apology. No, here's my side. Just silence. And when someone builds an empire on being loud, over the top, and always online, silence hits harder than any exposed DM. Meanwhile, McKinley's revelations only added fuel to the fire. She wasn't just accusing him of being a bad boyfriend. She was laying out a pattern of manipulation, emotional control, using women as business assets, and building fame on their backs, then discarding them the moment they burned out. She described her entire brand being molded by Jack's vision, her values overwritten, her voice muted, and when she finally spoke, she didn't scream. She just told the truth. And that truth was enough to fracture the image of Jack Doherty that so many fans once idolized. So, what do we take from this? Maybe it's that influencer relationships aren't what they seem. Maybe it's that no amount of followers is worth selling your soul. Or maybe it's this. If you build your career on controlling people, eventually one of them takes the mic and tells the world what really happened. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did McKinley expose the truth? Is Jack done for real this time? Or is this just another twisted chapter in the influencer circus? Smash the like button if you believe silence is never innocence. Sub to MR Stream. We say what others won't. And remember, if your relationship is just content, it's not love, it's marketing.